In this lesson, we're going to learn about what coaching is and how it can help you in your role as a nurse. And I'd just like to share a quote with you, and this quote is from Tony Robbins, and he says, "Identify your problems, but give your power and energy to your solutions." And I just would like to just stop and think for a moment about coaching and nursing, because not many of my nurse clients that come to me know a lot about how coaching can help them. Coaching is one of those things that if you work in a senior role, you might know about coaching, you might have had access to coaching. But if you're working as a nurse manager or even as a registered nurse or a clinical nurse, you may not know how coaching can help you. You might not have heard of it. You might be more familiar with mentoring rather than coaching. And I'd just like to share an example from somebody that I worked with about how coaching helped them. So she came to me and she was in her first nurse management role, and she was really struggling. Her anxiety was through the roof. She was second guessing herself all the time. She really felt like she was a fish out of water. Her team were testing her in every which way possible, and she just came to me a first session and she said, "I think I should leave. I don't think I'm cut out to be a nurse manager." And she said that very genuinely. It was a serious consideration. "I think I've got this all wrong. I was asked to act up in the role, and then I was encouraged to apply, and I really wanted to be a nurse manager and a leader, but I don't know now whether this is for me." And how we worked around those issues that she brought to coaching was, coaching is a safe space. What do I mean by a safe space? It's somewhere where you can say things, admit things that you're feeling that you have maybe never said to anyone else. You may never have said that or spoken that to your colleagues or anybody in the workplace. It's a place where you can say honestly how you feel, and then we work together to formulate a plan to address some of those problems. So it might be that we figure out the best way to say something. So for example, the best way to say no. It might be that we figure out how to present yourself as being more confident when inside you're not feeling confident at all. So these are some of the ways that coaching can help you. And what's really important about coaching is to remember that it's not and should never be a performance management tool. I have had people say to me about sending people to me because they're not performing at work. That's not what coaching is about. That's a completely separate process, and I don't want to mix the two. Coaching is about a process and a safe space that can help you to work on the issues that are really important to you. So it's really important to clear up some misconceptions about what coaching isn't. So coaching isn't something that somebody gets sent to if there's a performance issue at work. Managing poor performance is a separate, completely separate HR process. Coaching is also different from counselling in that coaching doesn't look back to the past to try and understand how that, whatever it is you are struggling with, is affecting you in the present. Coaching is also different from mentorship, but sometimes those two things get mixed up. Why are they different? Because mentorship is usually where you choose somebody based on their experience, their qualifications, their role as somebody that you want to learn from and work closely with. Coaching is a forward-facing modality. What do I mean by that? Well, a coach helps you identify a goal that's important to you by understanding where you are now and where you want to be in the future, and that's why it's called forward-facing. So in that example at the beginning where I gave a nurse manager who came for coaching, part of what she wanted to achieve was to be able to feel more confident in her role and to learn how to say no respectfully and how to set boundaries. So those are some of the examples of forward-facing goals that you might want to think about as a nurse manager. Coach doesn't tell you what to do and doesn't tell you what goals you should set. That's why it's whatever you bring to coaching and whatever you want to work on is how we would set those goals. So what kinds of things do nurses get coached on? There's lots of things, but there are some similarities. So the biggest thing that I see is imposter syndrome. So that feeling of not knowing what you don't know. You've arrived in a management role, you feel completely out of your depth, you don't know what to do, and it's almost like that feeling of being a student nurse all over again, that the skills that you thought you had have deserted you because you need a different skill set. Excellent clinical nurses really struggle with that transition from being a good clinician to becoming and starting their role as a nurse manager. People sometimes come for coaching because they want to take a different direction in their nursing career. So they may have worked in one area for a long time and they're thinking about moving into something different, or they're wanting to know what their career options are. Sometimes clients struggle finding their feet if they're transitioning from a graduate nurse to a registered nurse. That can be a very difficult transition, and sometimes some of the clients that come to me are in that space if it's their first role as a qualified nurse. Many of my nurse clients also bring to coaching that they want to understand and learn how to create a better work-life balance, and I think we all know that that's something that we aspire to, but the practical reality of how do you do that when you're a busy shift worker is often very difficult. So invariably people come to me with all sorts of problems, but generally there is a mix of those things predominantly. So feeling like an imposter, not having the confidence, and not having time for self-care and not knowing how to create time for self-care are the most common coaching issues that nurses bring to me. It's really important that you know that coaching is a confidential space where you can bring whatever it is you're struggling with and we can have a conversation around that without any judgment. What do I mean when I say confidential? Well, I have heard and I'm sure you will also be aware of people who've experienced coaching within an organisation and that coaching, whatever was said in that session, didn't stay confidential, and people overheard other people talking about that coaching between the coach and the client. And that's why it's important to know that coaching has to be a confidential space where you feel safe. Otherwise, you're not going to get the best out of coaching, and I can't help you in the best way possible as a coach. An interesting fact that you might not know about coaching is that it's tax deductible and you can claim coaching back as professional development. A lot of people are always surprised when I tell them that, but it is part of professional development. And as nurses, it's not something that we're always aware of. We tend to think about the mandatory training that we have to do, but we often don't always think about what's available to us externally to an organisation, and the fact that that counts as professional development. So if you would like to know a little bit more about coaching and how you can work with me, I'm very happy for you to reach out, contact me, and we can have a chat about that so that we can find out a little bit more. You can learn more about me and I can learn more about you.